Starting to snow on my island. Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I've played all the Animal Crossing games, and although the general concept is the same across the board, um, there's always new tweaks. Sometimes for the good, sometimes not so good. Um, like for example, the example I always use is the Wii version. The Wii version had a feature that they had added that I still maintain was one of the coolest features they added ever added to Animal Crossing, and they've never done it since. In that one, because it was called Animal Crossing City Folk, and you could actually get on a bus or a train or whatever it was, I don't remember, and you could actually go into the city, because you weren't on an island. It was just a town or whatever. And when you got to the city, there was some of the shops that you can get now as well, which, whatever. But one of them was a place like almost like an auction house. I don't remember what it was called, but it was like an auction house. So anything that you had that you didn't need anymore, like if you got like another, diner chair or something like that, it's like, oh, I don't need another diner chair. Instead of just selling it to Nooks like normal, especially if it was a rarer item that doesn't come up very often, you could put it up at this auction house, put whatever price, it wasn't really an auction house, but you could put whatever price you wanted on it. And any other player in the world who also went into the city would then see it, and they could potentially buy it from you. Now, you couldn't, like, when you were in the city, it's not like you'd see a bunch of villagers all running around in the city. It was still your unique perspective of the city, but everyone accessed that same city. So if you left something there and then I go in there, I could see it. And if I like it and I like the price, I could buy it. And if I buy it, you then, the next time you log in, you'd have the money, which I thought was one of the coolest things. The closest they came to that was then in the 3DS version. They had this kind of the same idea, but only the villagers in your town or island or whatever it was could actually buy. People visiting your city couldn't, which kind of sucked. And then now there's nothing like that at all, even in this one. And I think the Switch would have been a perfect version to like kind of reintroduce something like that. Like Harv's Island, for example, I think would have been perfect for something like that. Imagine instead of Harv's Island just expanding to all the little trailers with the little people and so forth that really don't do a whole lot, let's be honest, right? Imagine instead, again, not saying you'd see like hundreds of villagers running around Harv's Island at the same time, but let's say the Harv's Island that I visit is the same Harv's Island you visit when you go in your game. And again, let's imagine you could have something like that where you could put stuff up for sale that other people could buy. I think that'd be pretty cool. And any other number of things. Who left? I wasn't paying attention. Foxy left. Okay. So we'll X out. Oh. Oh well. And Mel has had long enough. Goodbye, Mel. Benny! I see Benny on my list again. Benny visited on Friday. I also see Benny is in the chat. As much as I do like this version of Animal Crossing, and I really do, I still think Nintendo missed the boat with a few opportunities. Like, they could have really gone really all out and done some pretty amazing things. Ding, 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 ding. Hello, Benny. Got more turnips to sell, do we? Alyssa. I have a cousin named Alyssa. Well, technically it's my wife's cousin's daughter. Well, you're watching the stream, so you would know if I was your mother's cousin's husband. I would not know if you are my wife's cousin's daughter, since I can't see you. Try saying that 3 times fast. Benny! Are you're assuming my wife's heritage now? No, I'm kidding. I don't know if she would or not, to be honest. I don't see her very often anymore, to be like, when my wife and I first met, like, well, of course she wasn't even born yet at that point, but I mean, Alyssa's now 25, I think. I want to say. I could be way off on that. I know she's in her 20s. Anyways. Actually, she might be early 20s. She might be like 21. But anyways, when she was younger and we used to babysit her, her and I got along great. And of course, when she was still like probably like 12 and my daughter was like 6, would probably have been about 6, the two of them used to play together a lot and so forth. But they moved to the next city over, and we don't really get together with that side of the family very often anymore. Because, like, my wife's grandmother and grandfather used to have a big house, and we used to get together for Christmas there every year. The whole, like, all my wife's uncles and aunts and all her cousins and stuff like that. And so we'd see them all the time, and it wasn't just for Christmas, it was for like all the holidays, and even just for no reason whatsoever, sometimes even too, right? So used to see them all the time. But as my wife's grandmother got older, and obviously her grandfather had passed away, her grandmother got older, she ended up moving into like an assisted living facility and so forth, and couldn't afford to, didn't make sense for her to be staying in this big huge house by herself anymore. You know we did still keep getting together at my wife's uncle and aunt's house for a while. We would have the get-togethers there because they also had a pretty big house and so forth, and so we'd still see them quite often then. But then they moved to New Brunswick. I'm in Ontario, for the record, in Ontario, Canada. They moved to New Brunswick, so I haven't actually seen. Well, actually, there hasn't really been a family get together because no one really has a big enough house to do one now. So my house certainly isn't big enough for it. It's barely big enough for the people that live in this house. I know Isaac's here, I know Alyssa's here, I know Benny's here. Yeah. Yeah, just you knew I was Canadian. How did you know I was Canadian? And just stand shoulder to shoulder. Believe me, we've done that before too. Even to put in perspective, even in my wife's uncle and aunt's house, which, like I said, was huge, it was still a packed house. Like, there'd be people in every room. The kitchen would be packed full of people. The family room would be packed full of people. The living room would be packed full of people. Like, well, other countries use the word sorry, right? Like, I know there's like a stereotype that Canadians apologize a lot. And like, I will say this, there's the one, what's the one you always see, where the guy's walking and he's not paying attention and he bumps into another person, and that other person that he bumped into apologizes to him. That does happen. That's 100% real. That does happen. I have been standing there minding my own business, and people have not been paying attention and accidentally walked into me, and I've still apologized to them. I mean, they apologize too. Like, it's a mutual. It's what's called a Canadian standoff. Because like, you both apologize. And I'm not saying that Canadian stereotypes aren't true, because they are for the most part. Like, a lot of them are fairly true, or at least true to certain regions of the country. like saying a at the end of every sentence. I'm guilty of doing it. I've done it a few times, and you'll hear it from time to time, but it's not as common in this part of Canada. Um, Out east, it's a little bit more common, like in like Nova Scotia, PEI, New Brunswick. It's a little bit more common there. You might hear it like a lot more there, whereas especially is it like Ontario, especially in Ontario, and like Ontario, you hear it quite a bit, but not as much. You get out west, you don't hear it almost at all. Like you're out in like British Columbia and stuff like that. Mind you, half of British Columbia is stoned anyway, so Vancouver's like the pot capital of Canada. Itchy. When was the last time I saw Alyssa? It's probably been at least 2 years. Probably. My daughter has seen her a couple of times because my wife's cousin has had uh, my daughter over for dinner and stuff like that. That's a whole long story, but um, my wife's cousin actually came and picked her up and then dropped her off. But I was at work when that happened, so I didn't even see my wife's cousin, let alone Alyssa, who probably wasn't even with her anyways when she picked her up. Well, she might have been. I don't know. But as sad as that sounds, that I haven't seen some of my wife's family in a long time. I haven't seen some of my extended family on my family in a very long time either. Um, Goodbye, Isaac. Isaac, go home. Um, yeah, like it's been quite a few years since the last time I've seen almost anyone from either my mom or my dad's side of the family. Well, actually, no. Sadly, unfortunately, I did see some people from my dad's side of the family a couple months ago because my dad's sister, my aunt, passed away, and so we did go to the funeral, and I saw my cousin Jennifer, who I haven't seen in probably 15 years, actually longer than that, because actually she had never met my wife. My wife and I have been married for over 20 years. Um, but I got to see my cousin Diane, who I'd probably had seen within the last 5 years, anyways. Um, saw my cousin Peter, who, God, I can't remember the last time I saw Peter. Like, I think I was still a little kid the last time I saw Peter. Um, got to see my cousin Cheryl, who I probably hadn't seen in probably about 10 plus years. Last time, and unfortunately, the last time I probably saw somebody before that was probably when my dad's brother passed away. As for my mom's side of the family, It's probably been worse. I think the last time I saw anybody on my mom's extended side of the family was when was for a Christmas get together, and my son, who is 12 now, was probably only about 2 or 3 years old. So we're talking like maybe 9-ish years ago. Yeah. It's always sad. Like, it's nice to see them, but it's always sad that it has to be under such circumstances. My sister-in-law's father actually just passed away today. Um, so my brother's wife. Um, and my wife and his wife are actually get along very well, actually. And my wife's actually, because my wife's father also has passed away years ago now, and so yeah, so there, my wife actually wants to go to the funeral, but it's in Saskatchewan, and we really can't afford to get out to Saskatchewan. Like, we don't. I mean, I don't even know when the funeral. Like, again, he literally only passed today. I don't know when the funeral's going to be. My sister in law is out there with her family right now. I would imagine my brother and their kids will be heading out there. But all right, a lot happened there in the last few seconds. Who's still all here? We have Benny. We have Cherry. Benny and Cherry. Lilac left. Yes. Yes, Lilac left. Nice. What did you figured out why it wasn't working, or what? Someone quietly left. How dare they? Who went home? Cherry went home. The wrong way. Download properly was. Huh? Cool, cool. So you were saying this is the PVR that lets you stream even like your PS2 and stuff like that? Q-tip. Nice. So you're probably going to start going gangbusters streaming again then. Nice. You did. Q-Tip with the weird helmet on now. Ba, 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 ba. Ooh, Diva. It's now called Tears of the Kingdom. It's not called Breath of the Wild 2 anymore. Yeah. I knew Breath of the Wild 2 was not going to be the final name. It is a sequel to Breath of the Wild, but um yeah, like I knew that was going to be a working title. But yeah, when they did the reveal with the release date and everything like that, cuz I think it's like what, May 12th, I think. Um yeah, they did reveal the actual name. So yeah, it's called Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. We weren't as of Saturday.